Hi, FramerX is famous for its React platform, which allows us to make and use React components inside this design tool. But as it brings everything closer to production? In this video I will share my experience of using React components inside FramerX, and together we will figure out if it's possible to make development-ready prototypes with live React controls. Typically, when we want to create a prototype inside FramerX, we link two frames or any parts of them like this. And this is done from the interface. But we're about to use React components, right? It means that we want to change screens inside the prototype by code, handling some control events. For example, if the input value is non-empty, the checkbox is checked or the next button is clicked. Let's say we have these three pages and we want them to replace each other by clicking the blue button. Unfortunately, there is no way to control a prototype in FramerX through code. However, it's possible via a tricky workaround. The native Framers page component will help us. It can display as many frames as we have linked to it. As you can see, I use additionally 3 scroll components. Framer has not native scroll support in prototypes, unlike Figma, so they are wrapping our frames, and finally we have such 3-lever structure here. Well, to handle this blue button click we need to assign an override to it. I did it already. You can see its name, tap to advance. Let's click here and check the source. We have data object that contains variables. That is where we keep our shared values. We have 2 of them, current page index that controls our current visible page in prototype, and max page variable, which holds a quantity of all pages we got. Then we have story override that sets the inner current page parameter of page component equal to our current page index. And finally, tap to advance, where we increase current page index variable and set it to 0 as it reaches max pages. Okay, let's see what will happen. We're clicking the blue button and moving to another frame and another and back to the very first one. The blue button was a simple rectangle made in Framer. Now I'm going to replace it with React button from our R1 UI kit. R1 is our main product. I coded property controls, and now we can change all button states right from Framer panel. Caption, size, type, loading or disabled state. Very useful. Let's turn it back, primary, and caption will be next. Let's add our override and see if it works. I'm clicking React button, it's changing states, but nothing is happening, while the Framer button is still doing the job. That is because our button has not onClick function that can be overridden. Let's go to the code and add it. Right here in the component tag, onClick equals this dot props dot onClick in brackets. We've got some error here. Well, we need to declare it above at the interface section as a function with the undefined result. That's it, let's try out. We're clicking and everything runs as expected. Now we're moving further to see how the same approach will work for a little more complex real interface. Let's preview this frame. You can see that we've got several live components here. Input, you can type in here wherever you want. Tree select, you can select multiple values from the tree, and we see they have added. That is undoubtedly cool, because it's just a prototype, don't forget. But don't expect content flow behavior like with HTML in the browser. All components have absolute positioning, and any resizing will result in the overlap. Like in this case, as we covered up the title with tree select drop-down. So unfortunately, you cannot achieve that one component will push another or anything like that. Okay, let's close it and see the full prototype instead. As you may guess, every element that are supposed to start transition to the next frame have the same tap to advance override. Not only button, but icons as well. Well, let's write something. Check this and click next. We have moved to another frame, but it goes both with slide effect and some flickering, which don't look nice. And again, and we have turned to the first frame. But we didn't see the last one. I'm betting it's because we have wrong value for max page variable here. Let's fix it. Change to 4 and try once more. Next, another frame and another. This slide is certainly extra here. But as you can see, effect is none in page component, so we cannot avoid the slide effect when using it. And we need this whole construction of 10 elements to show only 4 frames in the prototype. So the main question: is it worth to use Framer to make prototypes like this in real workflow? Considering all these additional elements, overrides, well, let me just show you how big prototypes I work with might be. Imagine how much extra time you are going to spend on this one adding all this. And take into account the lack of content flow and difficulty of sharing your work with other members of your team. Because now the only suitable way is to compress your project, send it to developer, and of course he needs a Framer copy and Mac to open it, because Framer is macOS exclusive. So at the time of this research, my answer is no. If you have ready React Kit and you need dig into the code anyway, it starting looks more natural and reliable to improve your JavaScript skills and begin to create prototypes on React all by yourself. Recently I received an invite to Framer Online beta version. We'll see what improvements they have done there. At least sharing should become much easier, I think. I hope it will give me another chance to implement code design as a part of real development process. We'll see. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.